welcome. My name is NOVARIS, and today I would like to speak to you about the Magicka Sorcerer build for the Clockwork City patch. This build is the non-pet build, so the main differences are in the skills, and also you might notice that the health will be slightly lower since we don't benefit from one of the passives. Okay, so the max health is going to be reduced by 8% because we won't get benefit from the pet. So we'll have to use max health and max magicka to reach that safe zone for the health. I'll be going over all of this and some more throughout the video. So the first portion of the video will be the Dps Parses themselves. I'll then go on to speak about the gear setup, the skill points, the champion points, and then finally the rotation for the Magicka Sorcerer. I do also have a character on the North American server. The gear will be slightly different on that character, so I will go over that as well, but that will be in the rotation portion at the end of the video. Okay, so let's speak about the gear. On the front bar I'm using the Asylum's Perfected Inferno staff with an infused trait and a shock enchantment. On the back bar I am using the Maelstrom's Lightning staff with a Nirnhoned trait and a weapon and spell damage enchantment. I'm using 2 illambris, 1 heavy and 1 medium. If you don't have these on the correct weight, then you could craft a different weight piece for your Julianos. So it's 5 pieces Julianos as well. Everything here is in divines and it's all enchanted with maximum magicka. I'm using 3 pieces of Moondancer, each have spell damage enchantment on top of each of them. Okay. So in the front bar we're using Haunting Curse. This is the different skill. Usually we'd be using Daedric Prey because that works better in combination with pets. Instead of empowering the pet, this curse is going to proc twice, so there'll be 2 explosions. We need to be careful to allow this to proc both times before reapplying, so you need to let it get past 0 on the debuff timer on the dummy. The next skill is Crystal Fragments. We benefit greatly, and so does everybody else in the group, from this skill because of the passive exploitation, giving us some more spell critical. Force Pulse, it's either Force Pulse or Crushing Shock. It needs to be used in combination with the Asylum Sanctorium staff, since every second Force Pulse with the Perfected staff gives the 3 debuffs, Burning, Concussion and Chilled status effects. With the normal staff you'll need to do 3 Force Pulses, but it's still very effective, and with this rotation in particular, the damage difference is very small. Inner Light, this is just to give us some more maximum Magicka, 5% here, and also from the Mages Guild passives. Okay, so Magicka Controller. We also get 8% more Max Magicka from Bound Aegis here, and also some spell and physical resistance. We also get some more maximum Magicka from using Shooting Star. This is again from Magicka Controller, but it's also a very powerful skill by itself. On the back bar we have Blockade of Storms. This is a very strong AoE. It's also great in combination with the Maelstrom's Arena staff. The set bonus here shows you that your light and heavy attacks will do 1341 more damage, just in combination with that skill. One of the strongest AoEs for the Magicka Sorcerer is the Liquid Lightning. In fact, most of our damage will come from this skill, so if we've got 2 lightning staffs it might even be better to use Edge's Touch over Julianos. Inner Light here, again benefiting from Magicka Controller and also from the skill itself. We get a combined 7% more Max Magicka here. Empowered Ward, this is another morph. You can choose either this or Hardened Ward. I find this setup and this rotation to be quite heavy on the consumption of Magicka, so it's better to have that extra Magicka recovery in my opinion. Bound Aegis, just because the skill has to be double slotted. And then Thunderous Rage, so this is one of the strongest AoEs in the game, and a brilliant ultimate in my opinion. It lasts for quite a long time, so it is preferred over Shooting Star. I'll speak only very briefly about anywhere other than the Mage. So there's 44 points into Elfborn. We need this to benefit from critical damage. 56 points into Elemental Expert. This is to benefit from the AoEs that we're putting down and also from Crushing Shock. 32 points into Spell Erosion. This is dependent on what trial group you're with. You might be better having slightly less or slightly more. It's to meet that 18,000 threshold. 23 points into Master at Arms so that we can benefit from damage from Crystal Fragments and direct damage skills. And then finally 75 points into Thaumaturge. Is preferred over the other skills since these are all scaling with stamina. So for us this is going to benefit our AoEs and also give us access to this bonus Exploiter, so we'll get 10% more damage from off-balanced enemies. The other champion points are as follows, and all of these will be noted below in the description. This can also be varied as well, of course, since it depends on what content you're doing. You might find that this CP layout isn't optimized. I usually like to take a potion. Unfortunately I don't have an ultimate here, so I'll try and get one back. But what you want to do is place inner light, use inner light and then your ultimate, and then place your AoEs down, and then go into your front bar and do a light attack, and then use 6 attacks on the front bar before going back again to the back bar. So let's do this. Elemental Drain, inner light, activate my ultimate, put my AoEs down, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I put my AoEs down again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I do a heavy. And then I put my drain on again, AoEs, and then back to front bar. That's the complete rotation. The main things to keep in mind are that the timing for your your timing for your Haunting Curse will be different from your rotation, so you need to try and keep that uptime very high. But as you see, when the debuff gets to 0, it pops again, so we need to allow that to get to 0. We can't reapply beforehand. If we reapply here, we're losing damage. We need to let it play the full skill out. So that's one thing to consider. The second thing to consider is to keep your AoEs down at the whole time. So what I usually do is I do 6. If I do 6 skills on the front bar, then I can't do a heavy attack and I have to put down my AoEs. If I do 4 attacks on the front bar, then I can afford to do 1 heavy attack. And it's up to myself about resource management. In order to get good DPS in a test, you do run out of Magicka, but I usually do run out of Magicka. And one particular problem I found is with the crystal fragments. If I'm doing a light attack and then using crystal fragments, trying to light attack afterwards doesn't always work. So that's something to be aware of. One way of overriding that is to do your light attacks and force pulses, and then when you swap bars you can cancel the skill that way. That doesn't seem to affect light attacks afterwards, for me anyway. Okay, so what I'll do now is go on to the North American server and we'll cover the slight differences in the gear while also talking about the exact same rotation. Okay, so now we're on the North American server. Let's just take a quick look at the gear setup that I'm using. I have a regular Asylum's Inferno staff. I'm using Maelstrom's Lightning Staff, 2 pieces of illambris, and 5 Julianos. I'm also using 3 pieces of Infallible Ether. And the damage difference is not too different from using Moondancer and a Perfected Staff. This is probably because the Perfected Staff and the normal staff enchantment using 3 or 2 Force Pulses or Crushing Shock, it basically doesn't always proc on that front bar, and it's more important to launch the crystal fragments when you can. Obviously with 2 Force Pulses you're more likely to get the 3 elemental debuffs, but you can get them with the regular staff as well, so they both have very similar damage. You may be wondering why I've gone onto the North American server. It's just to show that more achievable gear can still yield relatively decent DPS results. It's also just to finish off the video by talking about light attack animation cancelling and block animation cancelling. So for anybody who's watched my previous videos, you might have seen about this already, so I will be brief. So with light attack animation cancelling, we're shortening the animation time for the light attack. So it's using a light attack, a skill, and then a light attack, and then another skill, and you'll see what I mean now. So those light attacks were shortened. It almost looked like I was just using two skills, one after the other, and it should look that way. Don't be concerned that you're not doing things as fast as somebody who block cancels, for example, because block cancelling is just using the block, which is a priority skill, to override that animation. But the speed of the two rotations, or the two techniques rather, is exactly the same. You still have to have that brief pause for the light attack. Okay, so that's everything that I think I should be covering. There is no portion for the execute phase. I've tried using the Endless Fury, but what ended up happening is my DPS went down. Aside from anything else, it's not necessary and it can overcomplicate things. This rotation's already complicated enough. Just trying to keep track of the curse, this skill here, Haunting Curse. So if you can keep track of Haunting Curse, that's the main thing. Keeping your AoEs down at all times is also incredibly important if you want to keep high DPS. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this video. Please leave a like and subscribe if you want to see any more of this kind of content.